And a pleasant good afternoon. It is a 580 Sports Talk Kansas City Chiefs instant reaction. And I'm a little bit at a loss after that one. The Kansas City Chiefs are 9-0, a blocked field goal at the death to defeat the Denver Broncos 16-14 at Arrowhead Stadium this afternoon. The Chiefs improve to 9-0 and remain the lone unbeaten in the National Football League in the most dramatic of fashions. 15 consecutive wins now for the Chiefs dating back to week 18 of last season. And this one by far the most dramatic of the bunch. Dan Lucero and Brendan Dzwierzynski, two-man game, rocking with you on this Chiefs instant reaction on our YouTube page, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. You can also catch us on Facebook, WIBW News. And man, I was prepared to do a very different reaction show today, Brendan, as Will Lutz lined up for that 35-yard field goal. That is a very makeable kick. I remember distinctly thinking as Kevin Harlan reeled off all of Lutz's career milestones and highlights and all of his great stats, I'm thinking, well, it'd be funny if you put the whammy on him here. I guess that's what happened. Not a lot of blocking going on the left side of the Broncos field goal protection unit. And in the end, it was Leo Chanel who squeezed through to get a hand on it and block the kick. And the Chiefs hang on for a 16-14 win. But like I said, I was prepared to do a pretty different show today because there was a lot more bad than good for the Chiefs, I thought, for the better part of those 60 minutes. This was the first time all season that I thought the Chiefs got pretty comprehensively beaten up front. The Broncos did not have to bring pressure, extra man on pressure, to pressure Patrick Mahomes. They won with 4 repeatedly and made it really difficult for the Chiefs to move the ball as a result. It kind of felt like the first half of the Buccaneers game on Monday night extended out to both halves. Against Tampa Bay on Monday night, Chiefs made the adjustment being able to run the ball better, kind of keeping the pass rush at bay. They were never able to really run the ball consistently, effectively. First time we've seen that for the Chiefs this year. It was an outstanding game for the Broncos front four, and if they had won, by all means they should have, we would be giving them the game ball and giving guys like Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper and John Franklin Myers and Zach Allen, we'd be giving them their flowers right now because that was the unit that bossed the game. And the Chiefs front 5, I don't know, other than Tooney, who I didn't really notice one way or another, there were some negatives for everybody up front. In particular, left tackle proving once again to be a major Achilles heel for this Chiefs offense.
Yeah, and look, guys have bad games. I mean, it happens. Not everybody is going to be perfect or can be perfect all game long. We'll get to Patrick Mahomes in a minute. I thought this was a bad game, all things considered, from Patrick Mahomes. I know some of the advanced numbers I'm looking at him right now for the game are okay. This game is over if he just throws a D- pass to Travis Kelce in the end zone. A D- pass. And the Chiefs, we're not even worried about the game because they score and they're up by a touchdown. Denver doesn't score, whatever. Instead, he decided that he saw a Make-A-Wish kid in the 4th row and thought, hey, he deserves a football, and threw it to him. I don't know what the hell that was at the end of the game. There was another badness just before that.
What I think it was, and again, I think it goes back to the way the game had gone up to that point, is that so consistently Mahomes had pressure in his face. If you watch that throw, he'd step into it, threw it off his back foot, and he sailed it.
Yeah.
If he'd felt confident enough in his protection to step into that throw and zip it into Travis Kelce, it is an easy 6 points. He didn't. And that, again, goes back to the poor performance from the offensive line today.
Yeah, people gave Sam Darnold all those years ago, when he got caught on the hot mic saying he was seeing ghosts. People made fun of him like crazy, but that's a very real thing. That happens to good quarterbacks all the time. And I mean, it was Darnold and it was the Adam Gase Jets, so of course it was easy to make fun, but that's a very real thing. And to your point, that's kind of what it looked like there. The defense was great. They played really well. You allow just 14 points in a game. Even if Denver had made that last field goal and then they score 17, that's a good number in the NFL. You will be more than content if you only give up 17 points in a game, even though Bo Nix, I thought, played pretty well, all things considered. But the offensive line, I mean, you give grace because once in an 18-week schedule, you're bound to have a bad game, even if they all come together. I am more concerned today with the left tackle spot than I've been all season long because Wanye Morris was bad. And if that's bad, then I don't think I have an adjective for Kingsley Suamataia. that's like phantom IR bad. Like, you can't play that guy at this point, because Nick Bonito, I give him credit. I like Nick Bonito a lot when he was at Oklahoma. Thought he was a really good player. Thought he might be something when he was drafted. This new Vance Joseph defense has kind of unlocked him. Last year, he started to come on after a really just start to his career. You should not be getting destroyed like Nick Bonito was destroying Kingsley Suamataia in this game. Like, Trey Hendrickson back in week 2. Trey Hendrickson is having an awesome year, an all-pro caliber season off the edge. He is a better player by, I think, quite a bit than Nick Bonito. And Nick Bonito was eating Kingsley Suamataia's lunch all game that he was in there. And again, Morris wasn't good, but Morris is as close as you can get to competent at that spot right now. I had someone replying to a post of mine on Blue Sky today during the game saying, "Where's Ethan Driscoll?" Is that where we are with this left tackle spot?
Was that Spencer? Was that our guy Spencer Dupuis, Marshall Insider?
Amazingly, it wasn't. Someone completely different who I only know from the internet. Like, that's the spot we're in with this left tackle position. So I'm in kind of two minds here, Dan, on this game. One, it's the same thing we say with a lot of these Chiefs games that, they shouldn't have won, Chiefs, devil magic, whatever, that, hey, they still won. That's a good thing, right? The ability to know how to win, that is a good thing. Yes, I agree. On the other hand, any team better than Denver, which is better. I mean, this is an improved Broncos team, and they get credit for playing as hard as they did, and credit to their defense. It's really, really good. All of those things. Any team better than Denver wins this game over Kansas City today. And granted, I understand you play who's on the schedule. And if you play a C- game against the Broncos and win, it's just as valuable as if you play an A+ game against the Bills and win next week. I understand all of that. But I got to be honest, I do not feel like better about this team after today. I feel great about the defense. Defense is really good. I have had no questions about them, period. But this was just overall, I think it was a bad game for the offense, but in the long run, I mean, if you win, who cares? If you stay undefeated, 9-0, who cares?
Yeah, Christopher makes point here in the YouTube live chat, and welcome to everybody watching us live now on YouTube at 580 Sports Talk, our YouTube channel. Jump in the live chat, interact with our fellow listeners and viewers here today. Says Mahomes and Butker really need to be bailed out, but they both owe Leo Chanel. I thought it was Chanel who blocked the kick. It might have been, the official stats have it as Chanel. I know there was some confusion. I think Harlan initially thought it was Mike Dana. Karlaftis also broke through. It could have been anybody, frankly. But
I thought it was Mike Pennell. CBS's cameras kept following Mike Pennell. I thought it was Big 69.
I think I did too at first. But the point there, Christopher, is interesting. And I want to expand on that because, look, 18 weeks, 17 games, you are not going to play A+ football. And generally speaking, you are going to submit a clunker or 2 or 3. That's just the way the league works. This was a clunker from the Chiefs, and it was a clunker from guys who don't usually have clunkers. Mahomes missing the touchdown that might have sealed the game or at least made the end of the game a little bit more comfortable. Harrison Butker with a mistake I can't even comprehend, deciding now is the time he's going to get cute with the landing zone and cost the Chiefs 10 yards of field position when all the other guys need is a field goal. That was really strange. Trent McDuffie got beat for a touchdown in a way I have never seen Trent McDuffie get beat in 2.5 seasons as an NFL player. And he also got beat for that pivotal third down play. Now, Cortland Sutton's a good wide receiver, but Trent McDuffie, like, you build your defense around, like, your stars.
He's an elite corner.
Yes,
he's one of the 3 best in the league.
Your concepts on defense are built around your star players being able to play like stars. And Trent McDuffie had a average to below average performance by his standard state. The offensive line, the interior offensive line, Creed Humphrey was not his best. Trey Smith was not his best. The running game was not his best. There are a lot of guys who go into the locker room today thinking, man, I did not have my fastball today. Winning in a game like that can feel more like a relief than anything else. But let's talk about the stuff that did work broadly for the Chiefs day. Because as you said, the old NFL team to 14 points, and it would have been 17 if not for the blocked field goal. But still, you keep a team to 17 points, you're doing some really good things defensively. They made it hard for Denver to run the football, which we thought they would. And they also made it hard for Denver to have explosive plays on the edge with some good tackling. There were exceptions to that rule, but by and large, the Chiefs defense played well on the perimeter. And when they needed to dial up the pressure, they were able to do so to great effect and get some big negative plays, some big sacks of Bo Nix that short-circuited some Broncos drives. So I thought it would be a bit more of an aggressive defensive game plan from Steve Spagnuolo. I thought we'd see more pressure. There wasn't a lot of winning with 4 for the Chiefs today. Broncos, again, their defensive line played up front. I thought their offensive line played really good. They had it intact, I believe. That's their intended starting 5, which they haven't always had this year with Bowles and McGlinchey on the outside and Powers and Miners on the inside with Wattenberg at center. They haven't had that unit together for the better part of this season. I thought those guys played really well. Chris Jones is another star player that was pretty silent by and large today. So you give the Broncos a lot of credit for that, but the Chiefs still got the stops, still got the big negative plays, and held that offense to, again, 14 points. And this defense, we've grown accustomed to seeing win games for the Chiefs. They pulled another one out of the fire here today.
I think the most bizarre play of this entire Chiefs season is that Cortland Sutton touchdown in the first half. I mean, it's just outrageous. I've never seen McDuffie look that slow. And I mean, he's not running a 4-2 out there ever, but he plays really fast. And again, same point I was making about the offensive line earlier. You give guys grace for having a bad game once in a while. It's nice to have that bad game at home against a team that historically, at least in recent history, you have owned and dominated, and you think the Chiefs have the obvious coaching advantage as well, like they do in pretty much every game. But holy crap, man. I mean, this isn't even rookie Cortland Sutton when it looked like he was going to be a top 5 receiver before the ACL injury. He's still good, and he's really emerged in these last couple of seasons. But I could not believe he got behind McDuffie so easily. That's the most bizarre play of the season. Then again, I think you could follow that up, the most bizarre play from a Chiefs game. Denver just decided not to block on the field goal. I don't know that we have spent enough time in the last 12 minutes discussing the fact Denver just didn't block for a field goal that would have won them the game. It's also why I get enraged by teams, college or pro or high school for that matter, that play for the field goal. I understand you're trying to burn clock. You're trying not to give the other team the ball back. It's the opposite extreme of what we saw last week on Monday night, right? When Tampa Bay was more than willing to give Patrick Mahomes the ball back. Todd Bowles, let Mahomes get another chance at it, which was insanely dumb. This was the polar opposite, that we're going to put ourselves in a worse position by just sitting on the ball and burning up all the clock. I'm always a go for the touchdown guy. I don't trust place kickers farther than I can throw them, but I don't know that this was on Will Lutz, man. This was on Denver just having the worst possible field goal protection that I've ever seen. It could have been, you mentioned it, was it Chanel? Was it Karlaftis? Was it Mike Pennell? Was it Mike Dana? It could have been any of those guys. They all went right through that left side of the protection. So again, I mean, you point to, hey, the Chiefs found a way to win. That is a good thing. The fact that they needed to find a way to win, not such a good thing, even though, as we say every time, it's hard to win in the NFL. Divisional games are different, and Denver's better. I want to give Denver credit here. They are far better than I expected them to be this year. I know they only ended up scoring the 14 points, but I actually thought Bo Nix played pretty well, all things considered. And you're grading on a curve, A, because rookies, and B, because I thought Bo Nix was going to be terrible. So I'm grading on a little bit of a curve there, but he played better than I would have expected him to against the Steve Spagnuolo defense. You take the good and you move on. And you have to wonder, I think, was this a bit of a look-ahead spot for Kansas City? Because you've got Buffalo coming in next week, or coming up next week, I should say, a Buffalo team that had a little trouble today with Indianapolis, a far inferior Indianapolis team compared to Buffalo. So you, of course, have to wonder, maybe were you looking ahead a little bit? Did you take this team for granted a little bit? We have seen that with this Chiefs team over the last calendar year, that they do occasionally fall into those traps. So you have to be at least mostly positive that they still came away with a win. Even, again, if I'm not exactly feeling like, oh yeah, this is by far the best team in the NFL after a performance like this.
Yeah, I mean, we've certainly seen the Chiefs play better football games than the one they played this afternoon. But I keep saying it because it keeps being true. Winners win. And this Chiefs team has proven over the course of not just this season, but, the last handful of years, the Patrick Mahomes era, if you want to call it that, they find a way to make the play. Usually it's not the special teams. And if it is the special teams, usually it's Harrison Butker, right? Like making a clutch field goal to win a game. We've seen that time and time again. But again, the old saying, I believe it was the title of a 2 Chainz album, in fact, the play doesn't care who makes it. But there's a play that's going to be made in a close game that decides the game. And the Chiefs seem to have a knack for making that play, whether it's offensive, defensive, or today on special teams. They have a knack for making the play that needs to be played. The play doesn't care who makes it. Sometimes it could be Leo Chanel, who, by the way, was my big Chief pick this week on 580 Sports Talk. I picked him for a very different reason. I mean, I didn't sit behind the mic on Friday and say, Leo Chanel is going to block a field goal. You watch. I wish I had. And then he wouldn't be asking me for the lottery numbers.
By the way, while we're talking about some strong individual performances, I know he didn't end up with gigantic numbers in the game. I mean, 4 for 56 is a pretty good line for a dude who's only been with the team for 3 weeks. Again, this week was an example of why you go get a veteran, talented wide receiver like DeAndre Hopkins. There are not many wide receivers in the NFL who give legitimate problems to Patrick Surtain II, who I think is right there with McDuffie as 2 of the 3 best cornerbacks in the NFL next to Sauce Gardner. Like, those two dudes are elite. And McDuffie had a bad play, and Surtain got everything he could handle from DeAndre Hopkins today. That is why you go and get that guy, because he can win those matchups. He can use that veteran savvy to his advantage. I thought that was positive. Maybe not, again, the greatest game in DeAndre Hopkins' career, but definitely a lot of positives there. And this is what we should expect. I'll stop bringing it up every single week from this point, but that's what you should expect. When is the last time you had someone on this Chiefs team that could run a route like that with that sort of body type? I really could not tell you. It's different than when Tyreek Hill was around, who's an elite player in his own right, but just so vital to see a guy like that who, you know, in a matchup against an elite corner on that side of the field, you're not shutting down a third of the field, or you're not shutting down a half of the field. You've got a guy who can go win those battles once in a while, and it worked out a few times for the Chiefs today. That's why you went out and made that trade, and why giving up a draft pick, so what? Who cares? You got a good player who's going to help you win now.
The other thing that has happened in the 3 weeks since DeAndre Hopkins has joined the team, Travis Kelce has 32 catches for 254 yards and 2 touchdowns. That has been a major difference maker. The additional threat on the field has opened things up for Kelce. And it's been clear he's not the same guy. There were that third down near the goal line late in the game on the drive that could have ended it when nobody covered him on the 3rd and 4. That's a play 32-year-old Kelce scores a touchdown on. He makes that first guy miss and he scores. Doesn't have that. Doesn't have that wiggle. He doesn't maybe have that strength, that ability to break the tackles anymore, but he's there when the Chiefs need him, and he's been super productive the last 3 weeks. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the last 3 weeks have been when DeAndre Hopkins has been on the team. It has made for a much more functional passing game. Any final thoughts on this one?
Got to win. That's all that matters in the end. And look, if the other great teams in the AFC keep winning, and there is another great one that is on the schedule come next week, Buffalo, as long as they keep winning, nobody cares how you get them. And if you end up getting that number 1 seed and you can get guys healthy and you don't have to play in the wild card round of the playoffs, super wild card weekend. Hi, Roger. Then who cares? It does not matter how you get there as long as you do. You don't apologize for winning in the NFL. Hopefully, it was just a look-ahead spot, and this team is going to be ready to go firing on all cylinders for Buffalo next week.
Not just a look-ahead spot. It was also a short week for the Chiefs coming off of the overtime game in Monday night. So not only did they play Monday night, they played extra football on Monday night. And I think the Broncos have proven, if you look at the Broncos this season, it's very clear which games they've gotten up for. Like, they got up for the Jets and they got up for the Saints because that's Sean Payton's axe to grind. They got up for this one. They really wanted to snap that losing streak. That's a big deal for the Broncos. They wanted to get a win at Arrowhead. They haven't done it since that inexplicable Jamal Charles fumble in the 4th quarter back in 2015. But end of the day, got to hold your blocks on the kickoff, on the field goal. Got to hold your blocks. They did not. Leo Chanel blocked the field goal, and add it to the chapter of thrilling and remarkable games in this great rivalry between the Chiefs and the Broncos, and put it in the win column, 9-0 for the only unbeaten in the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to have much more to say about this game on Monday's edition of 580 Sports Talk. We'll be on the air from 3 to 6. Myself, Brendan, and Spencer Dupuis will be breaking down this Chiefs victory. We'll talk to Matt Verderam, our NFL insider, and get all of his thoughts on NFL Week 10 action. Also, have plenty to talk about for the land of college sports. Big weekend for the Jayhawks. A big top 10 win in basketball and a top 20 win in football. We're going to break down. K-State a basketball winner.
And a Big 12 soccer championship, Dan.
Oh, that too. You guys are a soccer school now. That was
always have been.
That's new information.
You know I love my footy.
Congrats to Nate Lee in the group. Absolutely. So we'll talk about all of that. We'll have a good time on Monday. We hope you'll join us from 3 to 6 Central on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, and these very same video channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube and WIBW News on Facebook. Until then, for Brendan, I'm Dan, wishing you a pleasant good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Why wouldn't you? The Chiefs are 9-0.